I should have known something was off when my brother showed up to my proposal in a suit that outshone mine. I'd spent weeks planning the moment. Rented out the rooftop of the place where my girlfriend, Candace, and I had our first date. I invited our family and close friends. I even had a string quartet cued to play her favorite song. Everything was perfect. Until it wasn't. I went down on one knee. I asked the question. She looked stunned, not in a good way, and after a silence that felt like forever, she blurted out, I can't. I'm sorry. I'm in love with someone else. Gasps. A chair scraped loudly. And then, almost shaking, she turned to my older brother Zach, who stood frozen near the bar. I didn't want to do this here, she whispered. But it's you. It's always been you. But Zach just laughed. Not a joyful laugh. A sharp, broken, mocking laugh that silenced the entire rooftop. You think I want you, he said, his voice cold. You think I'd take my brother's sloppy seconds? Candace looked like she'd been slapped. My knees were still on the ground, ring in hand, heart dissolving. I didn't even understand what I was witnessing. Zach stormed out. Candace started crying. Everyone was murmuring. I stood up and walked away, numb, as if I'd left my body. Over the next few days, Candace tried to explain that she'd confused friendship and affection, that Zach had always flirted, and she'd fallen for the idea of him. But when she realized how cruel he really was, she knew it wasn't love. I didn't know what to believe. But eventually, we reconciled. What I didn't realize then was that Zach didn't see it as a rejection from Candace. He saw it as betrayal by me. In Zach's world, he was always supposed to win. He was the golden child, smarter, richer, and louder. I was the background character in his story. And in his mind, Candace choosing me wasn't just an insult. It was war. The first weird thing he did was send me a bottle of whiskey and a card that read, "Congrats. You got the girl. Let's see if you can keep her." At the time, I chalked it up to a petty joke. But looking back, that was the first shot fired. What followed was a slow, calculated unraveling of my life. It started subtly. Candace would get anonymous messages about me being seen with another woman. I'd get strange voicemails I never remembered recording. Photos showing me in places I hadn't been. One even showed me kissing someone in a car, blurry, dark, but just believable enough to make Candace start questioning. I tried to fight it, swore on everything I loved that it wasn't me. But the doubt began to seep in. And Zach just smiled, played the supportive brother, told Candace maybe I had a secret side, hugged me and whispered, "Be careful. Girls like her don't forgive easily." He was planting seeds, poisoning everything. And I didn't see it until it was already too late that I wish I could say I saw through Zach's game sooner. But when the attacks come from the person you're supposed to trust the most, your brain fights to explain it away. I spent years making excuses for him. Candace and I tried to move forward. After the failed proposal, we decided to keep things private. A year later, we got engaged again. No grand gesture, just the two of us, a quiet night at home. It felt right. Safe. That safety wouldn't last. Right after we sent out the wedding invitations, things took a turn. Candace started getting messages again, screenshots of texts I supposedly sent to someone named Renee. They were vulgar, graphic, and completely fake. But the phone number they came from was mine. I called my service provider. They said there was no record of those messages being sent from my account. Still, to Candace, the texts looked real. They were time-stamped. My name was at the top. It didn't help that around the same time, she found an earring under our bed. I hadn't seen it before. Swore I hadn't brought anyone home. But once doubt enters a relationship, logic doesn't matter. We fought. A lot. Then the photos came, delivered in an unmarked envelope to our apartment. Grainy shots of me in what looked like a hotel room with a brunette woman straddling me. The angle was off, the lighting bad, but it looked real enough. Close enough. Candace lost it. She screamed, cried, packed a bag. Told me she was staying with her cousin. I tried to stop her, begged her to believe me, but the trust was broken. Again, I called Zach that night. "I need your help," I said. "Someone's trying to frame me." His voice didn't skip a beat. "Man, you sure it's not you? Maybe you've got a sleepwalking side chick situation going on." I hung up. That was the first time I truly felt afraid of him. A week later, Candace called off the wedding. The fallout was immediate. My mom sided with her, called me a disappointment. Said she was ashamed to have raised a liar. My dad didn't say much, just stopped answering my calls. Most of my friends ghosted me too. Apparently, Some of the photos had been circulated. I lost clients at work. My business partner asked me to take a temporary leave. Rumors spread like wildfire. Cheating, abuse, double life. None of it was true, but it didn't matter. Zach, meanwhile, posted a photo of himself with Candace's family at what should have been our rehearsal dinner, captioned, "Family stands strong." That's when I knew. He wasn't just enjoying my collapse. He planned it. But the hardest part wasn't losing the wedding, my reputation, or my career. It was watching Candace cry when she returned my ring. Not because of what she thought I did, but because, in some part of her, she still wanted to believe me. But Zach had made sure that she couldn't. And I was too shattered to fight back. For the first time in my life, I understood what it meant to be utterly alone. After the wedding was canceled, I moved into a shoebox apartment across town. No furniture, just a mattress on the floor and a broken toaster someone left in the hallway. I didn't leave the place for weeks unless I had to. I tried to prove my innocence. God knows I tried. I traced the IP addresses behind the emails and messages, but everything was masked, rerouted through proxies. I filed police reports, but without a suspect or proof of a crime, they shrugged me off. Could be a prank, they said. Domestic dispute. I thought about hiring a PI, but I couldn't afford it. The scandal had tanked my freelance contracts. I was barely scraping by. Zach, meanwhile, was thriving. He got promoted, started dating a model, someone with a private account and a lot of angles that looked vaguely familiar. He went on vacations, posted pictures of himself, healing, and choosing peace. Every now and then, he'd send me something. A photo, a meme. Once, just a single word, forgotten. The worst part? I still hoped someone, anyone, would believe me. But once people have a reason to doubt you, they rewrite everything in hindsight. My mom said I'd always been secretive. My friends said they'd had a feeling. Candace's cousin told her she saw me flirting at a party years ago, which I hadn't. Eventually, people don't just believe the lie. They want it to be true. It's easier to hate someone if you think they deserve it. I was at my lowest when Lisa, my sister, reached out. She was the only one who hadn't completely turned on me, but she'd stayed quiet during the storm. I didn't blame her. Zach was her older brother too. One night, she knocked on my door with a six-pack and 2 bags of takeout. We sat in silence for a while before she said, "I don't believe it." "Don't believe what?" I asked. "That you did all those things." I stared at her for a long time. "Why now?" She hesitated. "Because I overheard something." Zach was drunk. He was talking to someone on speakerphone. He said, she really believed it. All of it. Even the hotel photos. Then he laughed. That laugh he does when he's proud of himself. My heart stopped. I felt like I'd been plunged into ice. Lisa pulled out a flash drive. I recorded it. It wasn't a confession, but it was a crack. We started digging. Lisa managed to find old phone records. Cross-referenced timestamps. One number came up over and over during the time the texts and photos were sent, a burner phone. But guess what? That burner phone had once been registered, briefly, under a fake name that traced back to an address Zach used for a Shell LLC. It wasn't concrete yet, but the pieces were forming a shape. Then, out of nowhere, Candace showed up at my door. I hadn't seen her in nearly 3 years. She looked thinner, exhausted. Her eyes didn't carry the same spark. And when she spoke, her voice shook. "I think I made a mistake," she said. I wanted to scream, to cry, to slam the door. But all I said was, "Come in." She sat on the edge of the mattress, looked around like she'd stepped into the wreckage of a life she helped destroy. "I found something," she said. "In Zach's drawer. Photos of that same woman. Renee. Only, they weren't from a hotel. They were from his condo, dated before the cheating ever happened." My stomach dropped. And she was pregnant. Candace looked at me, eyes wide. She said it was his. Renee. That name had haunted me for years. The other woman who destroyed everything. The face I'd never seen clearly, just blurred in photos, always just enough to make me look guilty. Now, Candace was telling me she wasn't some random decoy. She was Zach's mistress. Candace explained that she had found a small box tucked inside a drawer at Zach's place. Inside were Polaroids, a positive pregnancy test, and love notes signed R. One said, "We'll raise her together, no matter what your family thinks." Dated about 6 months before our canceled wedding. The dates didn't line up with the fake affair. They preceded it. Candace confronted Zach that night. He exploded, shouted something about her always choosing me, then stormed out. She followed him in her car, only to find him outside Renee's apartment, yelling through her window. "I gave up everything for you," he screamed. "I made this happen." Candace snapped a photo of him there. Then she did something I never expected. She knocked on Renee's door. Renee opened it slowly, holding a toddler. A girl, curly-haired, maybe 2 years old. Her eyes matched Zach's, unmistakably. They talked. And for the first time in years, someone else confirmed the truth. Renee admitted she had helped Zach fake the affair. He'd paid her rent for months, promised to leave his family and be with her if she played along. She staged the hotel photos using a look-alike. The texts and voicemails were pre-written. She even posed for a few shots in my old car to make it all look legit. "He said you deserved it," Renee told Candace. "That you stole everything from him." Candace recorded the entire conversation. When she left Renee's place, she drove straight to Lisa's. And the two of them called me. We sat around Lisa's kitchen table, going over everything. Candace's hands were shaking. "I don't expect forgiveness," she said. "I believed him. I believed all of it. And I helped him destroy you. I didn't say anything for a long time. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want sympathy. I just wanted my name back." Lisa reached out to a lawyer she knew, a guy who used to handle corporate fraud cases. We compiled everything. The audio recording of Zach's phone call, Candace's photos, Renee's confession, and the timeline inconsistencies. Our lawyer said it wasn't just defamation. It was conspiracy, fraud, and potentially stalking. We went to the police. This time, they listened, especially after Renee agreed to testify in exchange for immunity. Zach was arrested 3 weeks later, charged with multiple counts of identity fraud, malicious defamation, and conspiracy to commit emotional and financial harm. His face, once the pride of our family, was now a headline. Golden son accused of destroying brother's life in elaborate hoax. The trial made everything public. My humiliation, my collapse, the staged betrayal. But the truth, finally, was louder. Candace sat in the courtroom every day. So did Lisa. Even my dad showed up once, though he didn't say a word to me. Zach tried to deny it, claimed mental health issues, blamed Renee, said Candace made it up. But it didn't work. It took years, but he was finally exposed. I should have felt victorious, but all I felt was empty. Until the knock came at my door 1 month after the trial ended. It was Candace, holding a little girl in her arms. "She's not mine," she said. "Zach couldn't handle her. And now, I can't either." She placed the toddler on the floor. "Her name's Emma. I don't know what else to do." At first, I just stared at the little girl. Emma. She had Zach's dark eyes, his hair too. But something in her face, maybe the softness in her expression or the uncertainty in her gaze, made her feel like someone new, untouched by everything her father had done. Candace stood in the doorway, wringing her hands. "I've tried," she said, "but I'm not her mother. I don't love her. I don't think I can." I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to slam the door in her face, tell her to take the consequences of her choices and walk. But Emma stood there, gripping the hem of Candace's coat, eyes wide and scared. "I'm not asking you to be her father," Candace said. I can't let her stay with Zach's mom. She's bitter, mean, and Zach's going to prison." "How long?" I asked. 7 years. Maybe more." I took a deep breath. Emma looked up at me, then reached for my hand. That was it. That was the moment everything shifted. I stepped aside. "Let them in." Candace stayed for an hour. She handed me a small suitcase and a backpack filled with toys. Then she kissed Emma on the head, whispered something in her ear, and walked out without looking back. I stood there, holding a stranger's child, my brother's daughter, the living proof of everything he did to me and the wreckage he left behind. But Emma didn't know that. All she knew was that I gave her mac and cheese and let her sleep in my bed while I took the couch. The first week was chaos. She woke up crying almost every night, called me uncle in a tiny voice, was terrified of loud noises and flinched when I raised my hand to grab something off a shelf. That's when I realized Zach hadn't just hurt me. He'd broken her too. So I stayed, took time off, read books on parenting, called Lisa 100 times a day, took Emma to the park, to the doctor, to preschool screenings. I started to learn her favorite color, yellow, her favorite cartoon, the one with the flying dog, and how she liked her sandwiches cut, diagonal, no crust. And slowly, something strange happened. I began to heal, not through apologies, not through justice, but through routine, through a little girl who needed someone to show up, day after day, without an agenda. One night, while brushing her teeth, she turned to me and asked, "Are you going to leave like Daddy?" I froze. "No," I said. "I won't." Her eyes searched mine, looking for the lie. When she found none, she smiled. "Okay. We weren't a family. Not really. But we were something." Lisa started visiting more. So did my dad, quietly at first. He brought toys, books, even helped fix my kitchen sink. We didn't talk about the past, but his eyes said what his mouth couldn't. "I'm sorry." Candace, to her credit, signed over temporary guardianship without a fight. She said she was moving out of state, needed a reset. I didn't ask where. I just nodded. Some nights, after Emma was asleep, I'd sit by the window and think about how much had been taken from me, how much Zach had stolen. But then I'd hear her soft breathing from the next room, and I'd realize, maybe this was what he couldn't destroy. Not love. Not completely. Not anymore. The official court papers came in the mail on a Wednesday. Temporary custody granted. My name, in bold, next to Emma's. Seeing it in writing made it real. Lisa cried when she saw it. I didn't. I just sat down on the couch with Emma beside me, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I let myself breathe. Zach tried to fight it, of course. Even from prison. He wrote letters. Dozens. To me, to Lisa, to the judge. All filled with ramblings, accusations, manipulations, pleas. She's all I have left. He stole her from me. He turned everyone against me. None of them worked. The court denied his petition for visitation. Too unstable. Too dangerous. Candace never came back. She sent one postcard. A beach in Florida. No return address. Just, thank you. For everything. I didn't show it to Emma. Instead, we made new rituals. Sunday pancakes. Movie nights with popcorn and laundry baskets. A calendar with stickers for brave days. The ones where she made it through school without crying, or tried a new food, or went a whole day without asking where her daddy was. Because yes, she still asked. Why did Daddy go away? At first, I lied. Said he had to work somewhere far. Then, as she got older, I told her a little more truth. That her daddy made mistakes. That he hurt people. That he needed time to fix himself. She nodded, like she understood. But I could see the storm behind her eyes. One night, after I tucked her in, I heard soft footsteps come into my room. She climbed into bed beside me and whispered, "You're not like him, right?" "No," I said. "I'm not. Even though he's your brother?" Even though. She thought for a long moment, then said, "Okay." And that was it. Forgiveness, the way only a child can give it. Lisa pushed me to go back to work. She helped redesign my website, reached out to old clients, vouched for me. One by one, people came back. Not everyone, but enough. I started getting jobs again, smaller projects, then bigger ones. Rebuilt slowly. Even got invited to speak at a conference. The same one I was blacklisted from 4 years ago. At the end of my talk, a woman came up and said, "I remember what happened. The rumors. I'm glad the truth came out." I just nodded. Didn't say much. There was no satisfaction in being right. Not anymore. But there was peace in being free. Zach's sentencing was extended. Turns out, Renee came forward with more messages that proved he'd stalked Candace long before the fake affair. Photos of her through windows. Plans for what he'd do if she didn't choose him. The prosecutors added charges. He'd be away for a long time. Lisa and I visited the courthouse the day it was finalized. We didn't sit in the gallery. Just stood outside. She looked at me and said, "I used to think Zach was the strong one." I smiled. So did I. Then we went home, where Emma had drawn a picture of the three of us, holding hands under a giant rainbow. She'd written, in wobbly letters, "My real family." I didn't expect the letter. It came 6 months after Zach's final sentencing. Plain envelope, no return address, postmarked from a correctional facility. I almost threw it away, but curiosity got the better of me. Inside was a single sheet of paper, folded once. No greeting. Just 4 lines. "You won. She chose you. They all did. But she'll always carry my blood." I read it twice, then burned it in the sink. I didn't need his words anymore. They couldn't touch me. But they weren't for me, were they? They were for Emma. A threat. A reminder. A seed of poison he wanted to plant in her life, just like he did in mine. That's the thing about people like Zach. They don't stop. Not when they're caught. Not when they're punished. Their damage is generational. But I made a decision that night. His story would end with me. Emma wouldn't grow up under his shadow. So I filed for full guardianship. It took months. background checks, home visits, counseling sessions. But in the end, the judge signed the papers. Emma became mine, legally, permanently, fully. And for the first time, I stopped waking up afraid. She turned 5 last week. We threw her a party in the park. Lisa brought cupcakes. My dad came too. He even helped tie the balloons to the picnic tables. We don't talk about Zach anymore, but there's something healing in his silence. It's enough. Emma asked if she could invite her whole class. I said yes. She made me wear a tiara and dance to pop songs I didn't know. We laughed so hard I forgot, for just a moment, what grief felt like. After the party, she curled up beside me on the couch, still in her glittery dress. "Did my daddy go to jail because he was mean to you?" she asked. I looked down at her. Honest. Brave. "Yes," I said, but also because he was hurting inside. And he didn't know how to stop. She was quiet. "Then, are you ever going to leave me?" "Never. Even if I get mean?" I smiled. "Even then." She wrapped her arms around my chest and whispered, "Okay. Then I don't need a real daddy." I didn't correct her. Didn't tell her blood doesn't make someone real. She already knew. Later that night, I found one of her drawings on the fridge. Stick figures. One tall, one small, both smiling. Big hearts over their heads. At the bottom, in purple crayon, she'd written, "My daddy is the one who stayed." And that, after everything, was the only truth that mattered.